Be 500, get into the wild card.
86 got the Phillies all the way to the World
I
Series.
hate to break it to you, man. I don't think it was your vision.
This podcast is perfectly named, I would say.
I hate to make excuses for Sandy and the rest of the
No,
pitcher
you don't. You've been doing it all year.
I do hate it. I'm just gonna say it.
Fucking hitting bombs to fucking Naocho. Like,
Inject that into my veins.
If that continues, there's no way we make the playoffs.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Welcome everybody to episode number 24 of the Battered. Well, I was about to say Battered Herons. Battered Marlins Fans Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granado. Alongside me is another Battered fan, Brenton Griffin. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. Doing good. You know, we got some fun stuff to talk about with the fish.
You almost landed your prediction.
Almost. It almost happened today. If Yuri would have gotten some more run support, I think we could have done it. But, you know, last episode, you know, we always like to talk about what we're wearing. So I'm going to talk about what I'm not wearing. First of all,
that's a first.
So I got the Jacksonville, the Prawn of the Dead hat.
Nice.
I would be wearing it, except my dumb ass ordered the wrong size. And this is like 5 sizes too small for me. So I'm going to try and get it exchanged. But for everyone who heard me talking about it, go out, order it. It's fantastic. Look how awesome it is. It glows in the dark. Yes.
Can we test that out?
Let me see. Well, you probably can't.
Too much light. Yeah, it's too much light.
Yeah. Not gonna work. But
I'll take Brandon's word for it. He said it glows in the dark, so I believe him. I'll say it glows in the dark.
Orange under the brim. It's beautiful. Great job, Jacksonville. So go out there and get it, and hopefully I can get mine exchanged before we end the season. I would love it.
We're gonna send them the video of you promoting them. They have to hook you up after that point, right?
Yeah, you know, I feel bad that I can't wear it because I just screwed up, but that's all right.
Could you imagine the advertisement, that hat with that beard?
Oh,
sell out immediately.
Listen, all the minor league affiliates for the Marlins, if you want to promote a hat, just send it to me. I'll pay for it. Just give me a little advance notice, and I'll put it on. I'll do it.
Yeah. All right. So, you know what? It wasn't a horrible week. I mean, It could have been better. I guess it came to the Brewers series, but I mean, we weren't. I don't want to say we weren't expecting, but the Philly series we were worried about, and taking 2 out of 3 there. I was worried. I guess you did say 2 out of 3. I was more worried about it, I suppose. I mean, Historian also said he was worried about that when he thought we'd do better against the Brewers. Obviously, that wasn't the case. But I guess we could start with the Philly series.
Yeah.
Let's start game 1. Yuri started that game.
Mm-hmm.
Any takeaways from the Philly series or game 1 in particular?
Game 1 in particular, I thought Yuri was Yuri, man. Like he was good. You know, he didn't get the win just because we didn't get him the run support. And so Robertson, I think, ended up with the win and Tanner Scott with the save, which was good to see that Scott was in the position to get the save and not Robertson. So it looks like we maybe, you know, all things considered, I think another thing is I think we had a good bullpen week. They look decent, but like it was just a good win. Yeah. It was just a good win. It felt solid. Like I even though it was a 1-run win, like it just felt good. It felt like we were in control. We didn't let the game control us. We played hard in that one, and I thought it was good. It was a great way to start off that series. I thought for sure, you know, the Yuri game, I felt like that was going to be the game we would win for sure. The other two, I was a little less optimistic about, but yeah.
Stallings hit a home run that game. Well, Stallings hit a home run that game. And
Stallings has had a great week.
Yeah, he has. He even pitched some against the Brewers. I'll get into that. But when he hit a home run, I was like, we have to win this game. And then I started thinking, he's only hit 3 home runs this season. But all 3 of those have to be wins, right? Like when he gets bat to ball, like
that's a good one.
It has to be. I have to go back and check when he hit those home runs. But I'm willing to put money that we are 3-0 in any Stalling home run games.
Might be.
But I think the biggest thing that game was Nardi getting out, bases loaded. I want to say the 7th or 8th inning.
Yeah, that
He
was
got out of
scary.
that jam. He got out of that jam. Like historian said, Nardi has been balling.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tanner Scott. I mean, if there was any doubt
Yeah.
before this week, I think this week cemented it. He is now our closer, and I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with that because I think that he's been
Yeah.
playing really well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's done everything we've asked of him, but yes, he's stalling the September Marlins goat. Oh, he is so
Yeah,
far.
sure,
Hopefully, we get a
sure,
couple
sure,
more
sure.
that step up because that's what we'll need to make it through the playoffs or to the playoffs. But yeah, no, that first game was decent. Tanner Scott, like you said, it's his job now, and it's his job to lose. And I mean, at this point, like we're riding with him for the rest of the season, right? Like there's no way you mix it up again. So I'm totally cool with that. Let Robertson come in like the 7th inning. I'm cool with that too. And then have Nardi Puck set our boy
Where does
Tanner
Puck
up.
fit into all this? You think he's a setup?
I think that's really the only place you can use him, and unless you want to do like a spot closer. If we get in a situation where we have three or four save opportunities in a row, and you want to give Tanner a day off, I think you can throw Puck in as long as he did not pitch the day before. Like I'm huge on Puck needs at least a day between appearances. What might be interesting to see too, and probably not, it probably won't happen in the run in, but Puck is a converted starter, so there's potential that maybe we add some more
Long
guys for
relief.
late game next year, and maybe he ends up as long relief. I don't know if we'll see it this year, probably not, but it could be a role he slides into eventually. But
Game 2, Johnny Cueto started.
oof.
Now, I don't know how you feel, but as soon as I hear Johnny Cueto starting, I consider it a bullpen day.
Yeah,
Now
I
I
mean,
think he went 3 or 4 innings that game. I can't remember. I have to look it up. But
yeah, I think he
how
did.
do you feel when you see Johnny Cueto out there? Because I don't. I mean, he's played better than I guess he did the first
So,
game or two of the season. But
well, he played the first like inning, and then he got hurt, and
and
then
that
we
was
didn't
it.
see him for a while, and then he
Well,
fell over
I
first
guess it
base in the
means
minors, and then he came
it
back.
was the minors where he got lit up. Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, he didn't go a start without giving up a run, I think, or
It
a
was
home run
brutal.
is what it was. He gave up a home run every game. But, since he's been back up with the club, like he's lowered his ERA, he's finally down to like 6.1 or something. Which is still terrible, but you know, you don't know what you're gonna get with Cueto. Like he had a couple games this year where like he turned back the clock and he was the Cueto of old. And like he threw 6 solid innings, and we were all like, yeah, if we can get him for the run in, we'll be good. But that game was not one of those games. Like he just did not look like he was in command at all. And this is after last week. I said maybe Cueto's, leadership experience could be something that leads us into the playoffs. Well, I was wrong.
Well, and I think it was 3 or 4 home runs that they hit off him in the first 2 innings. Like he
Yeah.
was done quickly
I think it was all in the second
Saturday.
inning because they scored 5 in the second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was brutal. You were down 5-0, and at that point, even though Jake Berger and Berger and Bell have been,
Yeah.
I mean, they've been better than advertised.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if we have anybody else pitching that game, we probably sweep the Phillies in reality, because if you think about it, that one inning, the second inning, we gave up 5, but then we came back in the 5th and scored 4 more.
Yes.
And then we gave up 3 in the bottom of that inning, and that was it. So, the fight was there. You score 4 runs, you should win the game, in my opinion. But Philly scored 8, so we dropped it. But
Game 3 was a bullpen day also. And I mean, I guess before we get into the Brewer series, we could talk about this game and then just bullpen days in general. Because like I said, I feel like Cueto's games are bullpen days. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And then we have our regular bullpen days. When we're here and we're trying to make the playoffs, we have 2 weeks left, more or less.
Yeah.
Can we really realistically expect to make the playoffs and win these games when, for me at least, I believe it's 2 bullpen days every 5 days?
So it's so weird, and Honestly, it's almost like 3 bullpen days because if you look at like when we get into the Brewers series, we had a bullpen day where Eddie Cabrera came in what the third or
The
something
second, I
and
think it was the second.
second. Yeah, and pitched a couple innings and we got
Chagwa, I
smoked,
think,
but
started. Yeah.
yeah. And so, I don't know how sustainable that is. Um it's obviously, you know, kind of working because we're able to take a game against the Phillies, but then we drop one against the Brewers. But I don't know what other options we have right now. Like, you know, we're running Cueto out there, and I know that if Skip had his choice of everybody, like Cueto would not be on this team right now. Like we would probably have Trevor Rogers and maybe even Edward Cabrera would take that other spot in the rotation.
Well,
But
Edward Cabrera, man, like
what a crazy
yeah,
season, right?
yes, it was Cali that gave an analogy for a movie that you guys were talking about that I've never seen. I forgot what the movie was, where it was
Oh,
like, yeah, he could like strike out 8, but he'll walk 8, and
yeah,
that's Cabrera in a nutshell, and he's
it's
just so
insane.
inconsistent. It's really frustrating to watch.
It big time. Because like anybody who's listened to us from the beginning is like will know like when Cabrera is on, like he can be a solid third starter for this team. But the problem is he is he's just I don't know. He just has these games where there's one inning and he walks like 12 people,
Yeah,
gives up like 13 runs, and then like you're just out of it and you don't know what's going on. And you know, then we're always sitting here like, oh, Skip should have pulled him in the 4th inning because the 5th inning fell apart. When in reality, like, who pulls a starter in the 4th inning? But when it's Eddie Cabrera, you have to ask. And so, he's got some stuff to figure out. I don't love him coming in as a reliever. If you're gonna put him in for multiple innings in a game, I say you start the guy. Like he's a
yeah, I
starter. He's
agree.
not a reliever.
But that's
Like,
what I
like
thought
they're
was so
setting him up for
weird.
failure.
I thought it
Yeah.
was so weird that Chagwa started, and then all of a sudden he just comes in. It's like, what was the point
Yeah.
of that? Now
I mean,
there
I
is.
think that was a tack. I don't know. I don't even know. I wish
I
I knew why he
I
was doing that.
I'm blanking on who was the Yankees were doing that for. I'm blanking on the name, but there's somebody that was playing horrible for the Yankees. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name right now. And they started putting him in the 2nd inning because they thought mentally it might help him because starting the game might have
maybe.
affected him, and it didn't help. He still
Yeah.
played
I
like crap.
don't as a pit as a I mean, yeah, I'm gonna say as a former pitcher, I played high school baseball.
Tell him about that
It
switch to
translates
contact
to
lenses.
major leagues. Yeah. But I had a different mentality when I started versus when I came in as a reliever. And I have to say, like, I was more psyched up to be a starter than I was a reliever. And, you know, I would think, like, as a guy who's been a starter his whole career, like, why are we putting this guy in the second? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean,
Thank you,
Mel,
Severino. Sorry, Severino.
there he
That
is.
I can't believe I was blanking on that. Yes, thank you.
You know, Mel Stoudemire has forgotten more about pitching than I even know. And so I trust Mel to make the right decision. If that's what he says is the best thing to do, then go for it. But I don't understand why as a
Yeah.
as a fan or someone watching from the outside. It doesn't make sense to me.
Wrapping up the Philly series, out of the 2 wins, which one do you think was more impressive? Because I know
They
you
were
said that Friday was a complete game, right? They played well the whole
That's what
game.
I felt like, yeah.
But Sunday, they were hitless all the way into the 7th inning, and they still grinded out a victory.
Yeah. I think both wins are impressive in their own right, right? Like I thought at one point on Sunday, I'm like, shit, we're gonna get no hit. Like this is gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
this could be the
exactly.
nail in the coffin for the
Like,
playoff hopes. And we came back and we won it. Like that was fantastic. But then you look at like Friday's game and like everybody did their job Friday. So if we get the team that we saw on Friday every day, like that's a playoff team. Yuri came in, did his job, bullpen came in, did their job. The bats did their job, and like Nardi, like you said, got out of that bases loaded jam. Like that's impressive, and that's the Marlins I want to see every day. But if I had to pick one, I guess I'd go Sunday. Like
I would also.
it's hard to go from like, you're basically, you're getting no hit, like, and then you go ahead and you flip it and you win the game. Like that's harder mentally, I think, to overcome than
I agree. And
Friday.
in the 7th inning, we go ahead, we score 3 runs, we tie the game, and then the bottom of the 7th, Dave Robertson comes on and the bases are loaded. You know how I feel about Dave Robertson. Never has a clean inning, but he somehow got out of that without giving up a run.
Yeah.
And then Brian De La Cruz came in and gave us that 2-run cushion, and Tanner Scott came in and closed the deal in the 9th. So I really do feel, even though the first 6 innings were kind of ugly, that the way they grinded that out was a little more impressive. And it really gave me high hopes for that Brewer series that was coming up. But I guess we can get into that
came
Brewer
crashing
series.
down, huh?
Yeah, I really was like, oh, and I think after that Philly series, I think at that point we actually had the third wild card spot.
Yeah.
And so Milwaukee, Luzardo comes on the mound on Monday. What do you think overall of the Brewer series?
So, Monday was just a shit show. Like nothing worked. I think we had 6 hits. We had an error. We gave up 17 hits and 12 runs. Like that's just shit.
I feel like they had the bases loaded like several times that inning. I think all series. I felt like they so many instances where they had the bases loaded.
They did, and in every other game, we were able to kind of limit the damage. In the Monday game, we just weren't. Luzardo gave up the run right there in the first inning, and then I think he gave up 3 in the third.
Like a million
and
in
2 in the fifth. It was 2 in the 5th and like 5 in the 6th is what it was. And so, it was rough, but Luzardo was going to have those days every now and then. We touched on it last week where these pitchers are kind of in uncharted territory. They've never pitched this many innings, and very few players on this Marlins team have ever been in a playoff race. And a lot of these guys are probably feeling the pressure now. And so,
did you say how many hits they had on Monday?
17.
17. Holy crap. And then the worst part is that their pitcher, was it Woodruff or something?
Yeah.
He had a complete shutout. I was like, geez, just to add insult to injury. Like that was a rough go. That was a rough intro to the series.
I was praying to the baseball gods that they had used up every single one of their runs for the next couple games in that game.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? After that, they didn't really explode. I mean, we lost 3-1 on Tuesday. We shut them out on Wednesday, and then they put up 4 today. So,
yeah,
I mean, they used up a lot of them on Monday for sure.
Oh yeah, and that's like, I feel like we should have taken at least one of these other Brewers games. Like it. And if I had to pick, it probably would have been today's game. Today's game was kind of unfortunate, but before we get into that, we can talk about Tuesday and that loss. And
the Cabrera game.
Yeah, and Cabrera gets the loss, but we only gave up 3 runs. Like if the bats had been there, like they have been most of the season, we probably would have been all right, but we lost.
And it's bad when we only scored 1 run, and it was a leadoff home run.
2 hits. Yeah, on 2 hits. That was it.
Literally, the first at bat, we score, and that's it. It's like, nothing else. Like you 2 hits. That's rough.
Yeah, and we only gave up 5 hits. Like it was not. It was not like that was a very winnable game.
100%.
Like we should have won it, and we looked all right. I don't think we looked terrible pitching wise in that game. The bats just didn't show up.
Well, and what frustrates me is that Josh Donaldson hit a home run. Josh Donaldson sucks, guys.
Yes, he does.
Sucks. So for him to be the one to tie that game up at 1, and that was a very winnable game. And then we go on to Wednesday, of course. the only guy we ever win with, Braxton Garrett. And Sandy might be our best pitcher,
Man.
but I think we're gonna win every time I see Braxton out there.
Yeah, I agree. If anything is, if I can take one thing away from this season, man, I have fallen in love with Braxton Garrett hard. That man is, like you said, you see him and you just say, we're going to win this game. He may not get the win, but we are going to get the win.
Right.
And we pulled it through, and I'm glad he got the win. We were able to get him some run, or we got him the run in the 5th. So Pin was able to close it out, but Brax is, man, he's having a great season. I think he's 9-6 now with a 3.67 ERA, like most innings he's ever pitched in his career by far. I think it's more now he's over his first 2 years combined now after this week.
Jesus
so
Christ.
The dude is fucking balling, and I love it. I love it. And the one negative we can probably take out of that game is we scored 2 runs, but it was on 8 hits. Like, we left people on base a lot. And the defense was terrible in that game. And we were very lucky not to give anything up because we had 2 errors.
Well, and I think another negative of that game is that Jazz comes out of the game again.
Yeah. Yeah, and he didn't play today.
At what point, let me not say at what point do we give up on him, because we wouldn't give up on Jazz, but
never.
At what point do we stop expecting him to be the person we count on? Because I know you guys say his swag is the reason he is the face of the franchise, but I feel like somebody that gets that injured, we count on them. We want them to help us, but he can't be the main focal point of this team anymore, because you can't count on him playing 100 games anymore. But if you
think about it, like if you think about this season, and especially after the additions of Bell and Berger, like, do we really see Jazz as the focal point of the offense? Like,
I think we don't, because we haven't,
especially with this,
because he's never plays.
Yeah, but like, would you say, like, when I think of like what a successful game would be, I would say Arise getting a hit or 2 and getting driven in by Bell or Berger at this point. Before, I would have said Soler in there, but I don't know that I would have said, Jazz as the focal point of the offense, because to your point, he just hasn't been here this season. And now hopefully this is a minor thing and maybe he's back for the Braves series. But if he's not back for the Braves series, like that's a real uphill battle for us to make the playoffs without that productivity. Because I'm not saying he's not a good hitter, but I feel like Berger and Bell and players like that have done a little bit more to get us to where we are than Jazz has, because you're right, he's not there.
And the thing with Jazz, when you're batting cleanup, they're relying on you.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't been available. So I don't know. It's just frustrating, because I wanted him to do so well this year, and I just feel like, unfortunately, he's just been constantly getting injured.
And like, look at, we've had, we had Peter Pratt on, what was it, the first or second episode, and he was starting his 40 for 40 tracker for 40 stolen bases and 40 home runs for Jazz. And he's nowhere, he's not even halfway there on either category. And, it just boils down to him not being available when Skip makes the lineup. So, I love Jazz. I don't ever want to see him play in another uniform, but I don't know how much longer we can, to your point, say that, he's what makes us tick. He's what makes us successful, because it's kind of not true.
All right, now I'm going to. I'm sorry. Do you want to say anything about today's loss before I get into the next topic that you're gonna hate me for?
I know what you're gonna say, but today's loss was it was rough. I mean, I had it on while I was working, since it was the early game. Yuri looked pretty good. We missed another leadoff home run. Arise had it, and because they had the windows open in center field, it changes the way the wind plays. and the wind blew it in, and they showed a graph. I think it was in like the third or fourth inning. They showed where the ball would have been, like had the wind not blown it out, and it would have been a home run, and that kind of sucked. Because who do we know? Who do we think of when we think power on the Marlins lineup? But Luis Ariz.
But you know
That
what?
would've
He
been
had
cool,
one
but-
earlier in the week. Look,
Yeah.
I've been saying it all year, and I just love him as the leadoff hitter.
Yeah. I mean, he's got to be the leadoff guy at this point, and he's a fantastic player. Probably the best acquisition we've made in a very long time. But no, today's game was just we just got outfoxed a little bit. So not a whole lot to say, just disappointing. Stallings drove in a run today. Xavier Edwards looked very good on the base paths, which is exciting because he's somebody I'm pretty high on.
We've been waiting for him.
Meyer. Yeah. I mean, Dane Meyer out in center field. He didn't have the best day at the plate, but he was holding it down in center field, so that's good to see because we don't know I haven't seen an update on Jazz yet, so we don't know what's going on there. But rough day. And just like we talked about on what was it, Tuesday's game, we should have won it. Had 6 hits, only brought 2 in. Story of the Marlins year, as
Spat says,
been exiled to Italy, says.
We are the Michael Jordans of leaving runners on base, and it just sure feels that way.
Yeah.
All right, so
rough.
What I did want to get into is Yuri. Love Yuri. Awesome. So glad that he's looked the way he has. But he gives up a lot of home runs.
He does.
Now, I was looking into it, and he's given up 14 home runs in 88 innings. That's roughly 1 every 6 innings. 1 a game.
Yeah.
Do you remember Sandy having any issues like that? Because I wasn't watching closely when Sandy, but somebody told me that Sandy always gives up home runs. Now, so I come to you as the Marlins expert.
Sandy has had that issue in the past. Like right when he was coming up, he was not, he wasn't the Sandy that we have now, but that's kind of what happens when you have young pitchers who, really try and get are kind of dominant with the fastball and the slider and the changeup and stuff. Like those guys, every now and then a slider is going to hang. A changeup isn't going to quite move the way you think it is, and a batter at this level is going to take advantage of that, hit you out of the yard. And what we're kind of seeing, and the reason that kind of keeps happening is because Yuri has all this confidence in the world in himself, and he's going to keep doing him. He's going to keep throwing his pitches, and you know what? The kid's got his ERA is still what, like it's still under 3. It's a 2.9. Like, listen, if he gives up a couple home runs, and when he normally does it, it's normally solo shots.
Yes.
I'm okay with it. And the other thing too is like he relies pretty heavily on his fastball, and sometimes hitters will just sit on that first pitch fastball, and that's what we saw. I think it was his first start and his second start were both like first inning solo home runs, if I remember correctly. And that's what it was, is the hitters are just sitting on that fastball. And as he starts building up his repertoire, maybe adds in another pitch or two so he can throw in some variety, we'll see that home run number drop a bit, just like we did with Sandy. So I'm not worried about it long term, but it does suck when it happens.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you don't want to nitpick, right? Because he's so young, his rookie season, and he's performed out of this world. But it's something that kind of stands out because I think that's the only thing I could possibly think of that he doesn't do well right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I forgot to mention about today's game, and I can't believe I forgot it, is Yuri got his 100th strikeout today. Second fastest Marlins pitcher to 100 strikeouts. behind only Trevor Rogers, who did it 2 games quicker. So, he's striking guys out. He's keeping people off base. He's not walking a whole lot of guys. Our win-loss percentage when he starts is like 556, which is second on the team only to Garrett. Like, it, you know, I'll take a home run here or there when our offense is supposed to be, backing him up. So, it's a side effect of a young pitcher, unfortunately. But
over the last week, over the last 2 series, if I had to just ask you to guess, who do you think our hottest hitter was over the last week? Who would you say?
I hate to say it, but it's probably Stallings, isn't it?
No, it's not Stallings. Although he did hit 200.
I don't know. Arise had a good week. Stallings had a good week.
Arise hit 250. Garrett Hampson hit 318 over the last 2 series. Garrett Hampson had 7 hits in his 22 at bats.
That's pretty.
Garrett Hampson has been playing. Yeah, he's been playing pretty well. He had some clutch hits also.
He played pretty good when we brought him up at the beginning of the year too.
But he eventually fell off.
Yeah, and who knows what happened there. But the dude plays every position that we ask him to play. I think he even played outfield earlier this year for the first time ever. So, I love having him up, and what we're gonna have to count on at this point is the young guys to get us into the playoffs. Guys like Edwards, like Dane Meyer, like Hampson, like those are the guys who are going to carry us to the playoffs at this point. Because like we still don't know what's happening with Jazz. Sandy's out right now. Like we need help, and that's our reinforcements.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the playoffs because I think it's time to look at where we stand. So, wild card standings. We are currently, there's 6 teams fighting for 3 spots. We are half game out of San Francisco, at 75 and 72. Cincinnati, Arizona, and San Francisco are basically we're the 4 teams, unless Chicago and Philadelphia fall off, that are going to be fighting for that last spot.
Yeah.
How are you feeling so far about that last spot? Do you think that we have any chance of making the playoffs?
Oh, we have a chance. I firmly believe that there's a chance we make the playoffs. The path is there. We after we talked about it last week, we were ready to kind of throw in the towel. We were like, man, I don't know. We might not finish this week in contention, but we're half game out with a handful of games left to play. The Braves series is scary.
Yes.
That's the series that scares me, because if we play the Braves like we've played them all season and we go through it and we get swept, that could put the nail in the coffin there statistically. That would be a huge mountain to climb if everybody else wins.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 series left. We have 3 series left at home, and there are 3 consecutive series. So we have a long homestand.
Yeah.
If we can take 2 out of 3 from the Braves, and I know that's asking a lot.
Ooh.
That's asking a lot. But if we could somehow take 2 out of 3 from the Braves, I think we have a great chance to make the playoffs.
So I think what helps us a lot is the Braves clinched the division last night.
Yes.
And I think that, maybe they're not resting everybody and giving the kids a shot. But I do think that they probably take their foot off the gas. I can't imagine that everybody is completely focused on winning out the rest of their games, right? Like, I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that we take 2 out of 3 from the Braves. I think it's more realistic we take 1 out of 3, which I'm fine with, but I think the path is there. And if the Braves have taken their foot off the pedal and I think in our group chat today, Callie was saying he's kind of thinking they're going to rest some arms and maybe do I don't know, have a bullpen day or something. If they rest arms for the playoffs and save some arms, that could work in our favor big time. So
there's 15 games
pivotal.
left. 15 games left. 6 of those are against the sorry Mets.
Yep.
And then we have 3 against the Pirates. Those 9 right there are crucial because you can't count on beating the Braves or the Brewers because you saw what the Brewers just did to us.
Yeah.
So we have to take out of those 9, 7.
Yeah.
We need to take 7 of those 9 to have a realistic chance. I don't know how this Braves series. Yeah, look.
Yeah.
The Mets are playing. They're gonna start playing their young guys already. If they aren't already, I'm not even sure. And the Pirates are basically out of it also. So at this point, I feel the Braves, they basically clinched. They're not going to be playing their guys, possibly.
Yeah.
And then the Mets, we play them next week and the following. That last week of the season, when you're out of it, that's it. Everybody's already on vacation mode. So I think that we need to go ahead. And then the last 3 games against the Pirates, again, also play the young guys. The season's over. So I think out of those 9, we have a serious shot of winning 7 of those.
Yeah.
And if we do that, we just got to stay alive against the Brewers and Braves.
Yeah, I mean, and the Brewers series at home. So we were in every game except for that one.
The first one, yeah.
I think we can take 2 out of 3 out of that series. Like, I just don't think if we want to be if we're a serious team, like we have to take 2 out of 3. There's no way we can let them win another series because that would probably, following a Brave series that I want to go in our favor, but just the numbers that we've seen, I don't know if it will. Like, I don't know. Our backs are going to be against the wall in that Brewers series. That and the Brave series are going to decide this season.
Right. Yeah. No. And
yeah.
At this point, let's say hypothetically we win those 7 out of those 9. We have 75 wins right now. We'll end up at 82 wins. That's over 500. Would you say before the season started that it would be a successful season, even without the playoffs, just ending over 500?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think no matter how this next week goes, like, we have to view this season as a major success. Like, there's 15 games to go and we're a half game away from making the playoffs. Like, like, this is awesome. Like, this is what we've all dreamed of and what we've all wanted. And
September baseball that matters.
Yeah. And I maybe, I forget who said that I was the most optimistic Marlins fan out there. I think I feel like we're going to make it. I haven't lost faith. I'm feeling more confident than ever that we're going to make it. And, I saw, I think it was today that, they finally diagnosed Sandy with a strained, I think it's a knee ligament, and he started throwing again. So they think he can probably come back at some point this season, is what I'm guessing, if he's throwing. So if we can get him back to finish out the season, I feel like we could do it, man.
Now, well, I'm going to tell you the only cons to this upcoming weekend. We have the Braves for 3.
Yep.
But we're fighting against the Giants. And the Giants have a 3-game series against the worst team in baseball, the Colorado Rockies.
Oof.
We're fighting with Cincinnati. They have a 3-game series against the shitty Mets. And Arizona, they're playing against the Cubs. The Cubs are still trying to win, somehow catch up to the Brewers because it's only 4 games behind. So maybe Arizona might not take care of business with the Cubs. But the Giants and Cincinnati, I expect, if the Marlins can't take 2 out of 3, are going to have a 1.5 game lead or 2.5 game lead over the Marlins once the weekend's over. And once that number starts to creep up, that things are getting a little tougher.
I think at this point, if that number hits 2 or 3, I think I think that's it. That's lights out.
I feel positive because it's half a game. Half a game is nothing. But once it's like 2.5, 3.5, and then every day that passes, you have less games to play. It's like it gets rough. But we got to keep hopeful. This series is really it's do or die time. This is the biggest series of the season. If you could take 2 or 3, not only does it boost the confidence, but it keeps you alive. At that point, I'm with you. I think we make the playoffs. Right now, I don't feel as confident as you do. But if we could take 2 or 3 out of the Braves, I do think we'll make the playoffs. But
there's listen, there's every reason to take 2 out of 3 here, man. Flanagan's night is tomorrow.
Ooh, yes, I heard. I can't believe that I'm gonna miss it, and even more so that Spaz is gonna miss it.
I heard Spaz is trying to bring back the Concorde so he can get back in time. But no, in all seriousness, I think it's like it's not. I think it's possible that we take 2 out of 3 from the Braves, and if we do that with the shitty ass Mets coming up right after that, I think that could put us in the driver's seat because I think. I even though the other teams have an easier run in, like I don't know, man. I'm feeling it this year.
I like it. So I guess it's prediction time.
Yeah.
So we got the 2 series coming up, Braves and Mets at home. Give me some predictions.
Braves, I'm gonna say 2 out of 3.
Oof, I love it.
I really do think that the Braves are probably gonna start resting people. What better way to do it than immediately after you've clinched the division? That's when you want to rest some people, and then you start bringing them back into the lineup the last 2 series of the year, get them ready for the playoffs.
If we're keeping the current rotation, Cueto would be starting tomorrow. Then it would be a bullpen day on Saturday.
Yeah, and then
Luzardo
day? Oh, Luzardo, yeah,
on Sunday.
Yeah, so now that you said Cueto's name, I'm a little less confident. But no, I'd say still 2. I think we can take 2 out of 3, right? If I'm gonna believe that this team's gonna make the playoffs, we have to. And I think we take 2 out of 3 from the Mets.
Oh my God, I didn't realize the Braves are at 96 wins already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Braves are real good. If they don't rest people, it's possible that the Braves end our season.
Yeah.
But and that would be the way it ends, right? Is the Braves ending our season just like they've done multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
But I think 2 out of 3 from the Braves. I think 2 out of 3 from the Mets. I think it's possible we sweep the Mets too because we have strong arms going all 3 games that I like that match up against their lineup. So, I'd be happy getting out of that week 4-2.
I think that's possible.
Where we need to be.
Yeah, that would be 79 and 74. And with 1.5 weeks to go. The Braves series, I'm not as optimistic as you are, especially when I saw Cueto starting tomorrow. I'm gonna say 1-2. I think we take 1. I would love to take 2, but I think we take 1, and then the Mets series, I think that's a sweep. I think we sweep the Mets.
Yeah.
How many Mets fans show up? Because I know in the beginning of the season, remember that first game of the year?
Oh yeah,
they were loud and proud.
On and
stupid asses. How many show up this? How many show up this time?
Probably none. No, there's some stupid ass people who still show up.
You don't think their dumbass owner shows up? Sits in the crowd.
God. That would be horrible.
Uncle Steve Cohen. Can't stand that guy.
Oh God, he's worse than Todd Bowie is the other one I hate.
Yeah. Well, so either way, we both say 4-2 over the next 6, which I think leaves us alive. Right, so that's the hope. Absolutely. Imagine going into the last week of the season.
I need that
with the playoffs still in a possibility. So Cueto throws 7 scoreless. Ooh. Sees if that happens,
Man.
I'm giving you a free shirt. I'm just batter fans. Boom, a free shirt for you if he throws 7 scoreless. All right. And then he said sweep the Mets and take one from the Braves. That's what I'm calling also 4-2.
Yeah.
So hopefully, but like I said, the Braves series is the biggest one. We need at least one from the Braves and then a Mets sweep.
Have to.
If we get 2 from the Braves, I think we're making the playoffs. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The confidence that you'd get off of that alone would kind of propel
There's
you.
no one else to stop us after the Braves. Like this last series has showed like we don't need to be afraid of the Brewers.
No, we hang with them, right?
Yeah.
So
we beat the Mets and we beat the Pirates. I'm not worried about those series.
I think even in the intro, I think it says 86 is the magic number.
Mm-hmm.
We're 11 games away from that, and we have 15 to play. I don't think we're gonna get to 86.
I think we might get 84, 85.
Yeah, I mean, 86 would be 11 out of 15 wins. That's a tall task. I mean, luckily we played the Mets twice and the Pirates, so it's not impossible.
Well, there's 9 right there.
Yeah, I mean, but
So,
that would be just straight sweeps. I don't know if we can count on that.
But let's say we take. So you say we take 1 from the Braves.
Right.
You said we sweep the Mets. That's 4.
That's 4. Uh-huh.
Brewers, we probably take 2 out of 3. That's 6 because that's at home.
Okay.
Mets again, 2 more.
I don't know if we can sweep them. Yeah, 2 more. Okay.
But if we take 2 more,
yeah.
what's that put us at? 10?
I lost count, but I'm sure some.
Yeah.
You said 6, so that would be 8.
So 8,
and then if we sweep the Pirates, then we get to 86. Hey, I guess it's still on the table. Highly unlikely, but if we would have won today, I would have felt a little better about it. But regardless, I don't think 86 is going to be the magic number for whatever team makes that last spot. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Brandon?
Listen, we're approaching the final few games of home baseball because we sure as shit are not playing at home in the playoffs very much. So, get out there, support the team. Flanagan's night is tomorrow night. You go get your cup. Mets games, those are always fun to beat the Mets. So get out there and
it's a lot funner when the Mets fans are actually there, though.
Yeah, but God, I wish I could go to one of those games midweek and then I could go live after the game and just rub it in everyone's face at the ballpark. But definitely the 24th, like let's try and pack that place for the last game of the season, no matter how this week goes. Like clear your schedules, make room. Let's get out there the 24th, show these boys that we appreciate what they've done for us this season and send them off on the final road trip, right?
Yeah, man, they really busted their ass this year. And
yeah,
I mean, even though I know that you guys disagree, but I think the second half was extremely disappointing because I was expecting them to just ride into the playoffs after that 14 games over 500. You still got to give them credit, man, because I feel like they surprised everybody. And look, they're going to end up over 500, which I don't think a lot of people had that alone.
Nope. I didn't.
Yeah. Well, I like to say I did because I'm eternal optimist.
You did. You absolutely did.
All right. If you are listening on audio, thank you for listening all the way to the end. We appreciate you taking the time to ride with us. Please give us a review, 5 stars, comment, all that other stuff. Unless you're going to say something bad, then forget it. Don't comment. If you're watching on YouTube, please, thank you. First of all, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Thank you for those that joined the chat live. And please like and subscribe. And hopefully next Thursday I think we might be back at full capacity.
I think it's all
right?
4.
Oh, look at that. It's been a while.
We're going
to
get
the stash back. We might get the college ball player back.
Coach Cali.
Everybody. There we go. So until the next one, have a good one. Peace.